Alrighty, can you see me? Dun, dun. And can you hear music in the background? Other question. Awesome. Cool. I have set up a thing. This is good. Is the music too loud? Last question. Cool. Most of these are from the current darkwebSTREAMER OST rather. So yeah, we got some bangers on that. Now I probably should have prepared questions. I meant to, but I got excited about setting up my all my stream stuff. A smidge lower. Alrighty. The music, it is let me set it on Streamlabs. How is that? That's a smidge. Okay. So, welcome to the second ever darkwebSTREAMER developer live stream. I have absolutely no plan for this. I figure we'll just riff it like we did last time. If you guys have questions, I would love for you to ask them. Then I don't have to sit there twiddling my thumbs trying to entertain you all. But I can also talk about some stuff we were doing this week. I think that was kind of the point, given the fact that we are doing these weekly and we work on the game weekly. So that seems like a good topic of conversation. I will see if I can just blast out this link to other people. I'm still getting the hang of doing this whole shebang. So your patience is appreciated. Alrighty, and luckily I have Miles here who can help me remember what the heck we did this week or last week. I genuinely don't know what day it is today. It is Friday. Okay, that is helpful. Yeah, so I guess what we've been doing. Alright, let me start from the beginning here. It's a new year-ish. It's February, mid-February somehow, but we kind of, it felt like we lost the first month of the year because we were showing at MagFest in Maryland. And I don't know how many of you are game designers. I know that we have a bunch of game designer nerds up in our community, but yeah, it is hard. It is hard to prepare for a show when you are mid-development because, how to put this, you've got a whole bunch of stuff in the middle of the works and that stuff isn't really tested or balanced. You're kind of just trying to get it in there. And then all of a sudden, you have to confront the fact that there are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people playing your completely unpolished mix of madness game. So what happens is you go, oh shit, well, we haven't really thoroughly tested all of these things that we've put in, and we also haven't balanced the game relative to all the new features we put in, because we know that we're going to put a bunch of other features in that are also going to shift the game balance. So why would we balance it now? Unfortunately, for the game to be fun, you do have to balance a show build. So yeah, basically we spent most of January trying to get some quality of life things into the game, trying to get a couple of new interesting pieces of content into the game for people to experience, and then balancing all of those things that are like in the process of being changed so that people could have a fun experience and feel like, you know, they are playing a game that is worth the time they spent queuing for it and doesn't let them down when they may have been excited to play the game. Yeah, we don't want anyone going away thinking, oh my god, those devs don't know what the hell they're doing. Hi Zaya, and hello Chris, lovely to see you. The live stream is being recorded and will be replayed, so yeah, all good there. Yeah, so we were doing that for most of January, which delayed our super fun production roadmap stuff into February. So basically, what we've primarily been working on is twofold. One, we just have done like a huge look over at all the cool things we have planned for the game in the upcoming year, trying to map out some kind of viable roadmap to release and a release date. I will not tell you a release date now because I don't want to disappoint anyone or strike fear into our own hearts any more than we have already. But yeah, I'm feeling good about things. We still have quite a few systems left to put in, and I'm actually going to bring up the roadmap and I'm gonna read some of the systems we do have planned to put in the game. For those of you who have played the build at a show or able to get a playtest invite, or are our Patreons who get automatic playtest invites, you will have experienced part of the game. But, you know, someone in our Discord, Joe, did say yesterday, he suggested that he had played about 25% of the game, if that. And I laughed when I saw it because if people think that they've played 25% of the game, that is, you know, the show build or the pre-alpha playtest build, I hope you'll be pleasantly surprised by the fact that that is probably closer to about 5% of the game. We have a ton of systems coming in that will add a lot more entertainment and interest and, most importantly, control and agency into the game. So, you know, we build darkwebSTREAMER as a management simulation game, as well as an RPG, as well as a roguelite. And it is all of those things, but, you know, there are management sim mechanics that are planned to be quite deep, and we haven't got those in yet. And, you know, there are narrative aspects of the game that we want to really like punch up and punch harder. So yeah, we have honestly a ton of stuff. Can I swear on here? I can. It's my stream. I'll swear if I want to. I swear all the time. I'm laughing because I'm like, I swear on panels, I swear in classes. Why am I doubting myself right now? A fuck ton of stuff is planned. So I am going to attempt to check chat. But I'm also going to be looking at this roadmap and reading some hopefully interesting things off to you guys that you might not know we have planned. Speaking of this week, something we have been working on that is a brand new system in the game that to me I've always thought was really important. Just like for the kind of like strategy element of the game, this is a roguelite game, and so we want you to be able to encounter these kinds of procedural circumstances, but then have the ability to really focus in on what kind of strategy you're going to take in response to the circumstances you have been presented with. And so what that might look like is maybe you're playing the game, and I'll use an in-game example right now. Maybe you get infected with worms, someone anthraxed you, biological anthraxed with parasites. That's a thing. But yeah, so like maybe you got worms under your skin, and there's a bit of a ticking time bomb there. If you can't take care of these worms in time, then you're probably gonna die. So that is just like one of many circumstances the game might put you in. So right now, like, we have quite surface ways to deal with things like that. So as you surf the web, something I don't think I've talked about much is a lot of the game design was actually inspired by Slay the Spire, which is a game I'm a huge fan of. And I really loved, there are a couple of things I really love about that game. One is it's quite short, so you can start it and end it in a fairly reasonable amount of time. I think a lot of us are feeling time pressure in our day-to-day lives, but we are also still gamers. We still love to get into like things like crunchy systems, and like we love to use our brain to strategize and like control that world. And I think there are very few games that really allow for a really like crunchy gamer experience while being quite short. So Slay the Spire is one that does that really well. A lot of the kind of like short games that we hear about are kind of silly free-to-play mobile games, or not so silly puzzle games, but they can tend to be quite shallow. So yeah, Slay the Spire, World of Horror was another one I found really inspiring because it felt like it took a more broad RPG experience and then condensed it down really, really small into something you can finish in 2 hours. So when I play that game, I get in and I experience the narrative, and I have to strategize with my money and my items and my stats to try to survive this experience. And then I end it and I'm done, and I'm like, cool, I gamed today. That was awesome. And then I go on with my life, and I get to still be like a gamer and an adult with obligations and responsibilities. So that is like very much the kind of like one of the core designs of darkwebSTREAMER is this idea of being able to have that crunchy gamer mechanics driven experience while still allowing for like quite a like short experience. And that is why I leaned into procedural generation instead of having a linear narrative or anything like that. I thought, let's design a game that people can play a lot, because there are very few games out there that are like short. So let's give them one they can play a lot. And let's fill it full of interesting experiences and these kinds of self-creating stories in the same way you would experience, the sense of a self-created story in a game like RimWorld or The Sims or Crusader Kings or Dwarf Fortress. A lot of these emergent narrative types of games. So, with all that said, the inquiry system that we've just been adding this week is a major component of that, because going back to the worms example, say in the game you got worms under your skin. Right now you can spend some of the money you've made streaming to hire a doctor, and that doctor might be able to remove the worms under your skin. But that's quite generic. It's not totally interesting, and in some circumstances you're not going to have kind of like an easy solve for the situation. You're not going to be able to say, hey doc, can you pull these worms out? So where the inquiry system comes in is it's kind of aware of different circumstances you're going through in the game. And as you go through these circumstances, we think, well, what kind of questions would a player have? Or, like the character in the game, if they're going through something, what might they ask other people, or what might they be seeking out on the web or otherwise to try to deal with the situation they're in? So, with the worms example, we can imagine that a character might be like, well, holy shit, how do I get the worms out of my skin? So perhaps, if the player has not found a doctor in the course of their playthrough yet, which is possible, because going back to Slay the Spire, part of that mechanic design in darkwebSTREAMER is this idea that every playthrough you're going to have essentially random access to various in-game mechanics, which we primarily call services. And services are websites you can find online that allow you to purchase or subscribe or hire somebody to help you with something. So a doctor is a service that you can hire to heal you. You can find a therapist who can treat your mental health and raise your LP or lucidity points. And so you're not always going to have access to the same ones, and that really changes the strategy of your playthrough, because you need, in best roguelite fashion, you need to figure out how to do what you can with the resources you have available to you in that moment. So inquiries allow the player to, instead of being, at the mercy of just the random things they've been given, they allow the player to ask questions pertaining to their situation and prioritize solving certain kinds of problems. So an inquiry that the player can make in their stream is saying something like, hey, does anyone know where I can find a dewormer? Or how can I either treat these worms under my skin? Or they can do something more generic, like, does anyone know where I can get some kind of health treatment? And the in-game world, the other characters, we call them NPPs, non-player persons in the world, can potentially say, actually, yeah, I do know where you can find some healing, or I've got a spare dewormer in my pocket, I will mail it to you. So yeah, that is kind of like one of the systems we've been working on. Let me just pause and read chat for a second. I can do one thing at a time, but not two. Hi Dean, lovely to see you. Dean is a beautiful human being who always saves us somehow at shows that we do. Let's see, Hammer, Isaiah, will there be possible controller joystick compatibility in the future? Absolutely, that is no doubt feature that will be there at launch of the game. It's already vaguely planned for. We keep kicking that implementation can down the road as we try to get all our systems in. But yes, I am also a big fan of controller input. I actually have a crippling hand injury, so I tragically can't play mouse and keyboard games anymore. So I am always so thankful when a game, especially like kind of management sim type games that ordinarily aren't available on consoles, I really appreciate when they have controller support, and it's a huge accessibility thing. So yes, we will have that. Yes, my team is very cute, I will say. Hi MD, nice to see you too. You can see MD in, if you look at our YouTube channel, we have live streamer reactions to one of our trailers, and you can see MD being hilarious in that. That's my contribution there. Also a cool streamer in their own right. So yeah, inquiries. That's what we've been working on this week. It is a system I've planned for since the beginning, and you know, in my head I was like, this is like a 3-day implementation. Really, it's only been like a 10-day implementation, but it took us 3 years to get around to. So I'm really excited to finally have that in. And for those of you who are our patrons, our Patreon supporters do get like permanent playtest access. So if you do want to try the game, or you want to try the inquiry system that we'll be testing in like the next week or so, you can subscribe to our Patreon at certain tiers and get a playtester key, just so you know. Thank you, Hammer. I hope so. It's been over 4 years now. I keep finding documents of, you know, like 2021 manual of something in my darkwebSTREAMER folders, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm turning into the Stardew Valley guy. This is terrible. I really thought it was going to be like a 2-year thing max. To be fair, we have had, you know, we did rebuild the game completely, which took a solid almost a year, and we did have to replace a programmer at one point, which took like 8 months, so we did lose a lot of time. But, you know, we'll get there, and it's going to be better for it. Totally worth rebuilding the game, I will say. Yeah, so, other than that, what are we doing? What did we do last week? Oh, I said I was going to read off the roadmap. I'll do that now. That's helpful for me. So yeah, we got the inquiry system coming in. I will also note that when I talk about putting systems in the game, you know, I hope some of you have heard me talk about our modding system and our modding focus. And, you know, I say modding these days, the rage is user-generated content. I find that a really horrific sequence of words. I don't know why. It just sounds really soulless. But yeah, darkwebSTREAMER was designed from day one to ultimately be like a collaboration between us and, you know, like the devs and our players, our community. As a writer and an artist myself, and someone who did not know how to make a video game until I started making darkwebSTREAMER. You know, I've always loved games, and I love to mod my games. I love to like download other people's mods, but I very, very rarely tried modding a game myself beyond, you know, painting over skin texture maps in The Sims, to horrific results. But yeah, sorry, completely lost my train of thought there. Yeah, modding. So I wanted very badly for creatives to be able to come in and contribute their own stories to the game and their own experiences. And I wanted artists to be able to, be able to contribute to what I see as this kind of collaborative internet project. My vision, in my wildest dreams, my vision for the game has always been that we recreate a more personalized internet in darkwebSTREAMER. And the way we would do that is mostly by, easy access to the Steam Workshop, where people can very easily just make, say, like an image of their web page that they want to share with other people, and they can just upload that to Steam. And I hope that, some friendly person will create a curated list of lots and lots of web pages for people to download, so that people can just download large web page packs and fill their darkwebSTREAMER internet with all sorts of interesting personalized pages from other people in the community. To me, that it's basically GeoCities. And for those who are unfamiliar, GeoCities is kind of like the original old web. GeoCities was a free service that allowed people to make their own web pages very, very easily on the internet. And many people took them up on the offer. You did not need to have your own .com domain name. You didn't need to set up hosting. It was all done through the web browser. So, yeah, it was basically just like a beautiful internet was created as a result of websites like GeoCities or AngelFire or Lycos. There are a bunch of them. They really democratized access to having your own space on the internet. And you could kind of think of these like homes. They were called home pages. And they were like people building their own little house on the internet that other people could visit. So if you imagine the internet as a virtual world, these home pages were people's attempts at building these cities. And in fact, GeoCities, the way it was built, it actually initially was structured in what they called neighborhoods. So there were many different neighborhoods, and each neighborhood represented some kind of theme or topic. So there were like kind of the politics-centered neighborhoods. There were the supernatural neighborhoods. There were music neighborhoods, etc. And yeah, so I guess my like ultimate dream is to like make a space where we can have this kind of really clean, completely, wiped of capitalism internet that is just filled with like people's passions, and you can tell people about you and what you care about, or share your art with people, share stories, share poems, whatever. Like, this is kind of like a crazy art project as well as like a crunchy video game. Techless says, isn't there NeoCities or something that's trying to bring that feeling back recently? There is, and thank you for bringing that up, because I am a huge NeoCities fan, like the biggest fan ever. And they've done like an incredible job of, bringing GeoCities back. There are really beautiful pages that you can visit right now, and I would suggest you do. In fact, let us test my scene building, and let me see if I can actually take you guys on a little tour of NeoCities, because it is a really great analog to the old internet. Let me just figure out how to do this. Watch me browse. Alright, you guys are gonna have to just bear with me for a sec. I'm gonna pop a new source in. Browser. And so let's see. You can see my fancy blue sky there. Let's pray that I don't have anything naughty up. It's fine, I probably do, and I'm sure YouTube will be very forgiving. Alright, so let me know if you guys can see that, and we'll take a little browse of GeoCities. Or NeoCities rather, and NeoCities is the new GeoCities. So I might actually disable the this one so we can get a nice full view here. And let's check out some cool art stuff. Now this is a little bit dark web streamer coded, I must say. There's really crunched black and white images. And yeah, so basically people would make their home pages on the old web, and they would try really hard to kind of make them reflect their personalities, their aesthetics. You know, and some people went really, really all out with the way they designed these pages, whereas some people stayed simpler, but, you know, they got the job done. They talked about themselves. So, yeah, this one's totally a vibe right here. And yeah, if you look at all this stuff, I actually reference NeoCities all the time when I'm designing our web stuff. You know, how our websites are generated, what kind of things people are talking about on darkwebSTREAMER's generated internet. And I also spend a lot of time trawling through, you know, GeoCities archives. Tragically, one by one, they are dying. Less and less GeoCities is available every day, and I'm quite upset about it. But the Wayback Machine, or the Internet Archive, does have some cool stuff. Let's see here. Alright. I think, oh, I opened this in a new tab. Let's see. What's another cool one? So this one looks a little bit old school. The Library of Minas Morgul. Welcome to the library. We trust I stay here will to be most pleasurable and profitable. I want to note that on the old web, kind of like medievalized, dramatized English was quite common. If you've heard of the fedora or the neckbeard language stereotype, like Madame and things like that. A lot of it kind of stems from people imitating that kind of older English on their websites and role-playing characters online. So, what is going on here? Explore the archives of Second Darkness. So often people will make diegetic websites of their own worlds or lore that they've created. Often they're, you know, based on role-playing games or stories that they are participating in or DMing, etc. Let's see what else is here. So this person's sharing their essays, headcanons, Tolkien's Black Speech. There we go. So Tolkien was a huge influence on the early internet. And many things, I suppose. Alright, let's look at one more. This one also looks like a vibe. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I love. So we've got these kinds of, this is very 2000s art right here. It's very kind of Newgroundsy, Invader Zim vibes, you know, Happy Tree Friends. God, how can I not remember Rusty Spoon Guy? Someone please remind me what the heck that character was called. But yeah, so this is some really beautiful web design here. For those who don't know, I used to be a web designer for many years. I guess in a way I still am, just a different kind of web now. But yeah, I actually started creating my own web pages when I was 10. I used to make them in Notepad, so completely hand-coded, just typing them out in Notepad, and you would save the file type as .html, and welcome to old school website programming. But yeah, I have a lot of love for really creative, you know, visually striking, bold, unique palettes. I love, you know, the little animations here. Marquees were really popular in, marquees is what old web design used to call those kinds of scrolling text. And we've got a video here playing in the background. I think this is really effective. It's a really cool mix between illustrated art and this more realistic footage. These things, they're often called blinkies. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but yeah, these little like rectangle things that are scrolling across, and they're like the virtual version of like badges or pins that people used to use. You know, it's kind of like emo pins you'd put on your bag that would show, you know, you're queer or you love books or, you know, death to Nazis. All things that are good. So, let's see. Yeah, absolutely digging that. See, if the person who made this is watching, message me. I will hire you in a heartbeat to come make stuff for darkwebSTREAMER. This is exactly the kind of vibe that I'm ultimately going for. It feels very kind of like captured in a certain time. Very aesthetically striking. Some of this actually looks a lot like the darkwebSTREAMER Notion page, which I will get up. And maybe there won't be too many secrets. Well, live stream requirements. That is not a secret. That is what I did today. Yeah. So this is our like Notion homepage where we organize the project. So it's kind of, you know, we gotta keep the vibe up, keep the intent. So, let's see, Netscape. Netscape is so old school. Hey, Snickerdoodle. Lovely to see you. Oh yeah, Serial Experiments Lane. You know what? Actually have. Let me show you. we go. So I'm gonna go back to TV. Yay. So these aren't the prettiest ones, but I do have... I'm a big Lane fan, which surprises nobody at all. I did accidentally grab this one, but you know what? Appreciate it. It's also good. So, yeah. There was a little side trek into some of the kind of aesthetic stuff that has been driving darkwebSTREAMER. So thank you for bringing that up, Techless. Yeah, huge NeoCities fan. I'm actually planning on making my own NeoCities website ASAP. I've been slowly designing it out. I would love other people to make them too. Practice for darkwebSTREAMER. Get a nice site ready and then dump it into our game when you're ready. I know, we have so much documentation. It's horrific. I spend half my time making things for the game and half my time documenting things for the game, which is still technically making, but let's gloss over that. Do I remember the site where someone sold pixels for ad space, and I think it was called $1 Million Baby or something? I do, and that site is still up. I was actually looking at it a few months ago. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a brilliant idea. And also it was like a very cool, like, capitalism art project, which you don't get to say too often. Thank you, Milash. I am a big fan of both Notion and our page. Thank you to Miles as well, who has been doing a lot of heavy Notion work lately. It is a really powerful tool, but it takes a lot of wrangling as well. So it's easy to get lost in the weeds, but once you've got everything up and running, it's definitely been a game changer for us in terms of productivity. And it's really nice if you run a team, if you are working on a game or some other kind of project where you have to, you know, wrangle multiple people. I've had a lot of people say that Notion is not a great, you know, task manager and stuff like that, but you can set Notion up in many different ways, and I think there are great ways to do it and there are not so great ways. And I think a lot of the people who have criticized Notion's ability to you know, help track tasks and do project management probably don't have it set up quite as well as they could. It's also really incredibly nice having documentation and tasks in the one site. Basically, when we're doing production stuff, we never have to leave the one website, and you know, we can rapidly hot link across the entire project, so you know, we can very easily link documents, etc. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Haunted documentation. Oh man, that was, I mean, it's good horror. The level of trauma I just experienced through those keywords alone, effective. Dude, I have not survived the design doc. The design doc has been like hanging over my head to finish and to update in, you know, in tandem for 4 years. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to bring you in behind the scenes, snickerdoodle, to see what you think of how our tasks go, because I feel like I can see a way you could potentially scale Notion tasks for a larger team. We've been kind of doing that, but yeah, it would be interesting to hear your opinion on how we've got our stuff set up. Snickerdoodle, for those who don't know, I will not out you, but snickerdoodled does very cool stuff in the games industry and has a lot of experience in managing teams. Yeah, so roadmap. That's what I was doing. By the way, does anyone have, before I start rambling again, does anyone have a pressing question they've been wanting to ask about the game or anything I've talked about today? I am here to answer your questions. I also forget what delay I put on my stream. So I'm like, I don't know how long to wait for. But I will just find something to fiddle with. And I'll just let you ask your questions and I'll keep talking. And I'll get back to them if you do have questions. I also do need to find this tab because I don't know if anyone noticed, but I typically have like 50 tabs open per window, and I usually have like 4 windows open, so that's a lot of tabs. Roadmap. Okay, I got it. You just gotta be effective with the tab search bar. That is the key. Alright, so what we've done is the inquiry system. The thing that we are doing next, the kind of big system change that we have planned for the game, is the Rain Cup overhaul. I was talking about wanting to get more crunchy mechanics in the game. And one of those kind of crunchy mechanics is allowing people to have more, ultimately like more control on the direction their character is going, their screener, as we call them. So like, what kind of person do you want to be, and what strengths do you want to play to? Or even, you know, you might have a reactive playthrough where you're really struggling in some aspects and you need to kind of strategize to fill those weaknesses that you're encountering. So right now the rank up system is quite simple. You only have 3 choices that are a bit randomized, and you pick from one of the 3 kind of character buff choices that you have. You also buff a tag. A tag is it's like a trait that you get in the game. You get them from experiencing many different kinds of things or behaving in different kinds of ways. The kind of design impetus behind that was this idea that your personality out on the world. So as you demonstrate the kind of person you are tagged as things. So, you know, in the same way a video might be tagged as this kind of thing, you might be tagged as a rocker, or you might be tagged as a deep sleeper, or you might be tagged as got worms. So yeah, that's kind of the diegetic way that we handle character development in the game. So as you are playing the game, something we hype up a lot is the fact that your character really does meaningfully change across the playthrough, reflecting the real experiences that they are having. And the tag system is basically the way that we ensure that's done meaningfully, because almost every experience you have in the game will bestow a kind of tag that reflects either the way you behaved in that situation, or you know, like something that befell you that will now define how you see or experience the world going forward. So as you play, you accumulate many tags, and some of these will harm you, some of these will help you, Some might have a combination of both. Some will give you particular kinds of buffs on mechanics that you encounter. Some unlock certain abilities, things like that. So yeah, right now you can kind of boost one tag, or you can well, you're forced to essentially buff a tag and then weaken or diminish a tag. And what a diminished tag means is either helps you less or hurts you more, whereas an amplified tag will either make a bad tag less bad, or it'll make a good tag more good. So yeah, it's fairly simple right now, but I'm working on a much crunchier, I like that word today, much crunchier version of the rank up system. So it's really exciting when you rank up. You've worked hard for it, and now you get to define who you are even more. And yeah, you're gonna have to make kind of maybe more difficult choices, but ones that should ultimately feel more rewarding. And yeah, that is game design, is just a long series of trying to make things feel like you, the player, have more agency in the game, and that your choices are both difficult and rewarding. Let's see. Tackless said, MD, I don't know why, but that thing about selling pixels makes me think of A Date with Death shouting out other indie games as part of the chat room type UI overlay. I have not heard of that. I think I'm familiar with the game name, but I'm not 100%. But that sounds quite cute. And I want to see more chat room overlays, so I'm going to go look this up after. Snickerdoodle says, do you get like a social blade interface for your tags or something? Explain to me what you mean by social blade. We do have basically a fake MySpace that is called Darkhole. And as you are tagged with things, it will, I will show you a picture. Here is my screen, but wait a minute, let's see. Let me get this up so you can see it. No, it doesn't want to show it. Nope. I swear, I'll figure it out. Oh, I did. Can you guys see that? This is very inefficient screen sharing. I can't actually see if you, you know what? I'll just link it. Or I'll just make yet another scene. Oh well. Apparently you saw it for a second. But yeah, so on the left there is a section that's like, you have been tagged as. and that's where it will capture your stuff. Let's see, Snickerdoodle was just wondering how you engage with or track your tags, and it was making me think of analytics backends or analytics sites that track things like tag performance. Yeah, I mean, I guess a dark hole and just your general character page track the tags that you have so you can see, you know, what is affecting you and how it is affecting you, and just kind of have a general survey of your life experiences by being able to see your tags. Oh yeah, I did not. I will have to set up a fancy look at image thing. I'm gonna drill that into my brain. I am still remembering how to stream. I used to do it many years ago, but I am rusty. But yeah, so tags are tracked. There are different kinds of tags, and we classify some things as tags I think we probably shouldn't classify as tags, so that's just my designer brain going, but yeah, right now you have like kind of your proto tags. These are tags you start with that kind of define the like background of your personality, or your life. So you might be a rocker, you might be dark, you might be a trust fund kid, and all of these things will influence your playthrough as you begin it. And then you have your tags that you acquire over the process of the playthrough, and there are a few different tags that, you know, a few of them, like some are just bestowed. Say you experience an event and you get a particular outcome, you just get a tag. Sometimes you might occasionally get that tag, but you might not always get it. Other things are more tracking your behaviors. So if you lie a lot, you may end up getting the liar tag, which may make you a better liar, but might compromise your humanity, which will have knock-on effects. There, you know, one tag I really enjoy is gambler. So we do have gambling in the game. Right now we have blackjack. If you are hard up on money and feel like self-sabotage, you can gamble and you can potentially win some money, but if you gamble too much, you might get the gambler tag, which is essentially a gambling addiction. And, you know, basically, if you don't gamble regularly from then on, you will begin to suffer psychic damage, and eventually you will go mad from lack of gambling. So it's not a good tag. I don't recommend gambling. But yeah, and then there are ways you can treat that stuff as well. Like you can go get therapy for your gambling addiction if you want. It'll cost you resources. So yeah, the tags are a lot of fun because they serve like many different purposes across the game, from like basically ensuring that your experiences are actually reflective, like your character genuinely is developing and changing from the experiences they're having in real time. It's affecting the mechanics of the game, it's influencing the way you strategize, it's a good record of like your memories, and it provides really fun imagined narrative and imagined playthrough requirements, because you get really cool stories out of, I got worms, an angry fan sent me worms that burrowed under my skin, but I couldn't afford to remove them and I was about to die, so I decided I would go gamble to be able to afford the dewormer, but I kept losing, and then I ended up becoming addicted to gambling. I was able to make enough money to treat my worms, but then I ended up going insane from my horrific gambling addiction that I no longer had any money to treat. So yeah, like you can see how these cumulative things create emergent stories, and we've got lots and lots and lots of them, and many, many, many more coming in. So, you know, it's ways like this that every playthrough will be different, and you will have to come up with very different strategies for the, you know, the story experience that you are having. You will have to play differently in response to the story you're experiencing. But yeah, I'm excited about it. So let's see. So how do you get the happy ending? Well, winning makes us happy if you manage to survive to rank #1, becoming the most popular screener on screeners.dark, which is the dark web streaming website. Then you survive, technically. We do have a futures system planned, and what the futures system is, well, we have a few ending narrative systems planned. The futures system, basically, certain things you do in the game may have future implications for your player. So you're not going to experience them now, but you know, it doesn't mean just because you got away with it now that, you know, your streamer is not going to face any consequences or, you know, responses down the line. So, sorry, I'm laughing at Hammer saying all I keep getting is blue screen of death or dying. Yeah, that's tragic. A couple of people have one recently, and one at MagFest, so that's a relief, but yeah, it'll be more fun later. Futures, yes. So yeah, say that you do something illegal in the game, and you don't get caught, but you still did an illegal thing. Say you made friends with someone on the internet that you met through your stream, and you convinced them to come to your house, but you actually were infected with a cannibalism curse, so you secretly invited them to your house for the purpose of killing them and harvesting them for meat, and then you eat them. That may create a possible future for your screener in which, after you win, you receive the story of your life. And that is, you know, a quick narrative snapshot of what happened to your character after you won this game. And something that might happen is you end up, say you marry your best friend in the playthrough and you guys have 2 kids, but then the police finally crack the case of who killed the Divine King 12, that friend you invited over and murdered during your playthrough. They crack the case and they end up jailing you for 20 years for cannibalism, and that is how your story ends. So yeah, that is an example of one of many different futures that can happen to your player as a result of things that you did. But I mean, I used a bad ending. You can get a happy ending. You can just fall in love with that person you decided not to eat because when they came over they were really cute. And yeah, maybe you live happily ever after. So I mean, like when we talk about true endings, all endings are true if you experience the ending in darkwebSTREAMER. Because every playthrough is essentially a self-contained story. The story generates every time you play. Your generated ending is, you know, the the real generated ending of your character in response to the way that you lived your life. Dreadful Tales Gaming asks, I'm sure this has been asked before, but is there a time frame you hope to release the game? There is certainly a time frame I hope to release the game in. I am not announcing anything right now because I don't want to disappoint anybody, and everything is deeply in flux right now. We are a very small team. I work full time, and well, I am free labor full time, and we have our lead programmer who's 20 hours a week, and our lovely creative assistant Miles, who is 15 hours per week in theory. People occasionally overwork, which I appreciate. But yeah, we are a small team, and this is a very big game, so we are currently seeking some kind of funding to help us get a couple of more people on the team so we can make the game faster. If that happens, I will be able to be clearer about a time frame. But as many people know, the indie scene is quite dire right now in terms of funding, so we're really just taking it one day at a time. That said, we do have incredible Patreon supporters who have enabled us to do things that we couldn't do before, like hire extra help, contract people, etc. So if you've ever thought about supporting us on Patreon, know that it really, really does help. We really do, whatever you support us with goes straight into making the game better. So right now we're kind of living and dying by our community, and everyone's been really lovely, and yeah, I really appreciate that. Fall in love without resorting to cannibalism seems unlikely. I mean, like, there's that phenomenon, I can't remember what it's called, but when something is so cute that you just want to squeeze it, and like, people really do accidentally sometimes squeeze cute things to death, especially little kids. I've heard about that. They just hug the kitten too tight. It's really sad. Yeah, I feel like you could extrapolate some kind of, like, I loved you so much I had to eat you. I just wanted you inside me. Actually, my inner anthropologist is coming out right now. It's quite common across quite a few, cultures across history that people would eat the corpses of their family members or beloved community members to try to like retain them, their spirits or their kinship. So often, and for those who don't know, I do have a academic background in anthropology, and I've studied quite a few of these things at length. But yeah, often when somebody dies in particular cultures, well, maybe not often anymore, but in the past, everyone would sit down and have a feast of their bodies, and it was actually quite a lovely communal thing and a way of saying goodbye, but also not saying goodbye to people. Only I can romanticize cannibalism. Hammer says, possible dating sim minigame then. Yes. Our very first DLC I have planned is a dating sim DLC. I really want to do it. I just can't justify the added time, like development time pre-launch to implementing the level of detail I want to get without updating them. But yeah, I am pretty hyped to get that done. What's an average playtime to be #1 screener? Sternbad asks. So the intended playthrough time is 1 hour. I am doing my best to keep it to 1 hour. I was talking earlier, some people may have missed it. I was talking about how I really enjoy games like Slay the Spire or World of Horror that are both quite short, usually like a couple of hours playtime, but allow for kind of crunchy mechanics and a narrative experience. So I am trying to keep it down to 1 hour, but you know, as we develop and as we have all these really cool features and lots of things to do, I am also, you know, I will allow a more fun, you know, immersive experience to take precedent over keeping it really short and tight. So I'll say that 1 hour is kind of my ideal goal, but it may end up blowing out. And Dreadful Tales, yes, quality is absolutely the forefront of what, you know, everything we're doing. I honestly, I would trash the game. I would never let it see the light of day before I released something that I didn't think was really worth people's time and would, you know, give them pleasure and make them, you know, glad that they spent the time doing it. That's the plot of Mice and Men. You know, I've never read Mice of Men. Mice of Men. Now my brain is, there's a good band that has a similar name. Now I'm having an existential crisis. There's also a really great song. What is that song? Now I have to look at it. Bum-ba-dum. Of Mice and Men. Yeah, so it's a band. And they're on my playlist. What is this song? When You Can't Sleep at Night. Yeah, good song. darkwebSTREAMER Club. Hello, Harrison. You know, I hate to admit it, but I still haven't played Darky Literature Club, and I feel quite ashamed. The amount of times people have brought it up to me, and I know it's exactly my thing. I know it's gonna be my jam. I've heard they do a lot of cool, kind of like subversive, disruptive things. We also have some of that in darkwebSTREAMER, in terms of, you know, breaking the fourth wall a bit. I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, I mean, if we can capture Darky Literature Club vibes, despite me never having played it, I already know that's going to be a win. Snickerdoodle says, are you shooting for a continuous hour, or can you walk away and come back to finish your run? So we are a roguelite, and I call us a narrative roguelite, and the internet is essentially the dungeon. You can save and quit. You cannot save and load, but you can save and quit. So you can walk away and come back and finish your run. You know, I am a parent. I get it. We all need to be able to put it down and walk away. But yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm the kind of person, if I can save scum, I will, even if I'm full of self-loathing while I do it. I will save scum the shit out of something while shaking my head, shaming myself. And so the best way for me to tackle that is to have that ability taken away from me. Same with things like mini-maps and quick travel. I hate open world games that give me a mini-map. I hate fast travel in games. It takes me out of the world. You know, the first thing I do when I load up an Elder Scrolls game is I mod out the mini-map and I mod out quick travel. And I try to, like, usually I'll replace, you know, the mini-map with like a compass and a map or something if there's a mod for that. Or, you know, I'll mod in, you know, like a horse and carriage or something if, again, that's needed. So, because I will use quick travel if it's there. Because I'm absolutely a min-maxer. I'm a, like, hyper-efficient gamer. But I hate that. Like, I don't like it. So yeah, suffer and die. That is the raison d'etre of darkwebSTREAMER. And yeah, just Dreadful Tales says 1 hour isn't too bad, especially if there will be a couple of endings in the initial launch, then some later DLCs. So there will be many, many, many endings in the initial launch because they are generated endings. So yeah, I just want to make that clear that, like, darkwebSTREAMER is deeply a procedurally generated narrative game. So there's no linear playthrough. It's not like you can experience 5 different stories and 5 different endings. The game story is making yourself as you are experiencing it, and it is changing quite drastically as you experience it. And the endings you get are, you know, shaping in response to the things that you are experiencing. So, yeah, there are hundreds of ways to die, and all of those will include variations of, you know, those deaths. And with our future system, there will also be quite a few ways to experience the future ending of your life. Does that mean tags or other things could carry over into other playthroughs? So tags will not carry over into other playthroughs because one of the core design conceits of darkwebSTREAMER is that I really wanted it to feel like every time you sit down to play a playthrough of darkwebSTREAMER, you are becoming a person. You are becoming this person who is living this one life. Because every time you load the world, the entire world changes. It's all procedurally generated. So the entire internet completely changes. All the web pages are completely different. They say different things. They look different. All the NPCs, so NPCs in the world are, they're all completely generated at the beginning of a playthrough, so they will change. Except for our Patreon subscribers who have a certain tier, they will always show up in the game, or they can potentially always show up in the game. This is how we fund our development people. But yeah, and like items change, the crafting and recipes and rituals all change. You won't be able to Google, like, how do I make a healing potion? Every time you load the game, the way you do it changes, and that helps us keep the internet very fresh because you're incentivized to browse the internet because you want to find how to make, you know, a healing item in your playthrough. That's really useful. So it's exciting when you find that healing item recipe, not just the first time, but every time you find it. Like, that's cool. Like, yes, got something that will help me. So yeah, like, there are just every event you experience is also like deeply procedurally generated. Many different things can happen. Those who have played the earlier builds and playtest builds, they are much more static right now. So like we have a lot of placeholder events, so you may see the same events coming up quite a bit, or like that use very similar, if not same wording. Those are just placeholders. They're going to be taken out when we're ready to do our actual real content implementation. But we can't do that until all the rest of our systems are in, because so much of our narrative draws from these other systems that we have, which, you know, were created to feed really deep, complex narrative, like, I don't even know what to call it, just like material in there. So yeah, our events need stuff to draw from, and a lot of the work in development we're currently doing is putting in lots of stuff for those narratives to draw from. Save scumming while shaking your head so everyone else on the train knows you don't agree with it. That is, yeah, that's a great encapsulation of me. Just for shame. For shame. Snickerdoodle says, are you going to have seeded runs or intending to keep it completely stochastic? Yes, so we do have seeded runs, and there may or may not be particular seeds that have particular special things. So hypothetically, good luck to those who want to seek them out. But yeah, generally we expect that people will be playing the randomly, you know, completely randomly generated runs. But yeah, if people do want to start the same seed run, you can do that. Yeah, that's exactly correct, Snickerdoodle. Each seed is a pocket universe, and different universes have different aspects to them, different amplifications. So yeah, if you think of sliders universes, you may find particular seeds may feature particular strangenesses unique to them. Nice to have you here, Dreadful Tales Gaming. Thank you for hanging out. I actually I'm gonna wrap this up too. My kiddo's about to get home from school. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. I'm gonna drop some links in the chat. And yeah, every week, same time, I will be here. I am being a good girl. I am being a good dev. Yes, Snickerdoodle, same with me. I am a, fervent creepypasta fan. I love game creepypastas in particular. I love all those, the secret seed creepypastas. Go to this seed and you'll find something horrifying or cursed. Yeah, if we can, why not? Why not make space for that? Alright, well, thank you again, everyone, for hanging out. Please come hang out next week if you have time. I enjoy the company. If you have questions, queue them up for me next time as well. For those watching in the future, I thank you for watching. If you haven't wishlisted darkwebSTREAMER, please go do so. There is a link in the bio. There is also a link to our Patreon. We do appreciate your support, and you can playtest the game if you support at certain tiers. So, yeah, just don't forget, it is in development. 5% of the game is in. We will radically and rapidly fill that up in the next year. just the way systems games work, you go from like 5 to 70% real fast. But yeah, so thank you for your time, and I will see y'all next week. Or in the Discord, which you should join if you haven't already. I live there. Alrighty, bye.